Hi guys, this is Stanley again from Value Invest Asia, the financial media platform that allows you to cut through the noise of the market and focus on just the thing that is important in investing. Thank you so much for your question and discussion in our previous video, and I have a great time interacting with all of you guys. If you have missed our first video, I strongly encourage you to go back and take a look at it first. We talk about the Disney company and why this might be one of the best media company out there right now. And if you are optimistic about the world of entertainment, especially in the future, and Walt Disney Company is definitely one that you need to watch right now. Our analysis on Disney is actually first published as a very detailed report on our Value Invest Asia Club, and it is basically a membership club where we share exclusive research and also let members see my entire portfolio. Members will also get trade alerts, live trade alerts whenever I make a trade in my portfolio. So before starting Value Invest Asia, I personally have been working in the finance industry for a long time, both in the fund management and also in the investment advisory side of the business. I basically started my investing career when I enrolled in the CFA program about more than a decade ago, and I have worked as an analyst for the most part of my career. During this period, I have also been actively investing on my own, and I'm very grateful and very fortunate to be able to successfully grow my portfolio to more than 7 digits today. So I'm very honored to be able to create Value Invest Asia and be able to share what I have learned over the years, and especially from my mistakes and all my analysis with our fellow members in VIA Club. It is definitely one of the most rewarding things that I have done, and members have constantly been telling me how much value they have really gotten from VIA Club, and I'm very grateful that many of them has actually write in to us and let us know what is the most valuable part of Value Invest Asia Club and that they have gotten out from. And one of them is actually Mr. Yo, and he writes in and tell us that the analysis provided in VIA Club are easy to consume and really easy to understand, and he feel perfectly safe and that the research is trustworthy, given that how transparent we have been in showing our own personal portfolio to members. And it is almost impossible, he said, that to find other stock sharing site that really live up to this commitment, where quantitative portfolio match up with the qualitative nature of all the analysis. So thank you so much, Mr. Yo, for that kind words. And also Kelvin has told us that there's a lot of benefit for joining VIA Club, and one of the features that he really likes is the podcast interview, the transcript that we done for all this podcast interview. And from our Asian Mavericks podcast, we actually features entrepreneur, founders and business leaders in Asia. And by listening to this podcast, it has allowed him to gain an insight in the companies which many of us might not have the privilege in accessing the top management of this company. And because we have such a vibrant community, we really have the bargaining power when it comes to finding and talking to management, and we find it more and more easy to gain access to this management when we tell them about our community. And so thank you so much, Kelvin, for the kind words, and we have many more of this testimonial that they members have given us, and we are extremely grateful for each and every one of them. And today, as you've seen from the topic of this video, I would really like to share with you another type of analysis that we do within VIA Club. And many times, not only do we share stock reports on stocks that we are optimistic about, but we also warn about stocks or industry or some trends that we see that we are negative about and we want to warn member against. Today we like to share with you one of such analysis, which is on the telco industry, and why we think that the risk in the telco industry right now is actually higher than what most investors thought. And it is important for us to know the full threat and risks really facing this industry right now before we decide to invest. Because we feel that there's a need to highlight the issue right now, because many of the members are getting very interested in the industry, because as we've seen in the past few years, telco stocks has really been on a heavy decline, and many of them might seem like a bargain right now. But in our opinion, that bargain comes with a certain amount of risk. So let's get on with the analysis of that. We written a report on it not too long ago, basically saying that I feel that telcos are no longer be considered as safe investment. We know that telco has long been deemed as like a defensive type of stock, where it is one of the safest type of investment that we can really invest in. But I really feel that is no longer the case, and I think the share price of many of them has actually shown. Share prices of all these defensive companies has actually dropped more than 50% from their peak. We have seen that M1 Limited has dropped close to 50% from its peak back in 2015 until the day that they are bought out in April 2019. StarHub has dropped more than 60% since 2017, and even the largest of them all, Singtel, has dropped more than 30% since 2015. And this is really not a issue that is just locally in Singapore. Regionally, most of the telco are facing the same fate. We've seen it in Malaysia telco also. Digi.com, which is one of the favorite of many investors, has dropped more than 30% since 2017. Maxis has also dropped about 25%, and Axiata has dropped close to 40% since then. But why is this really happening, and can we really see them as a cheap, undervalued stock right now? But before we carry on, I'd just like to explain that even after their drastic stock price decline, at this moment of time, I still have no love for telco as an investor, if you have not been able to tell from my tone. But this is because I really believe that there is a fundamental shift now in the business model of telco, and I think which is going to greatly weaken their pricing power in the future, and it will never go back to what it is before. Traditionally, telco has always operated sort of like a monopoly or duopoly type of structure. They are regulated with very limited competition, and they enjoy relatively good profit margin and quite stable profit margin. And in the past, we can see that telco has multiple stream of revenue from profitable things like voice call, SMS especially is extremely profitable for them, data, pay TV. Some of them provide pay TV services, and also providing some enterprise services for large companies. The problem now is most of that revenue stream, and especially the profitable ones, are getting replaced. We have already seen voice call, SMS, and even pay TV now can be easily replaced with free or significantly cheaper alternative, as long as we have access to one key thing, which is just data. We can replace voice call with services like Skype, WhatsApp call, WeChat, or even Facebook or the Apple FaceTime. SMS can easily be replaced with WhatsApp, WeChat, and almost all the dozen of messaging app out there. Pay TV are now being disrupted by streaming services like Netflix, and all the telco right now really comes down and boils down to competing in one single thing, which is their data plan. And telcos really end up just fighting for their data packages, providing faster speed, more data, cheaper price. And the more that they actually goes down this road and try to build up their data capability and data services, actually the more power they're handing over to all these tech giants like Microsoft, Facebook, Netflix or Google to create services that really replace all of their previous revenue stream. And we can also see that government is not really on the side of the telco. Government around the world has really seen the benefit of the internet, of how it can improve efficiency of their workforce, of their industry, and also increase innovation. We've seen how fast innovation is happening in China just because they are very, very advanced in the data service provider. So many of the governments around the world are actually encouraging better broadband access. This means that they would really like data to be as cheap as possible and as widely available as possible. And they do that by actually increasing or putting in more competition for data provider. And we can really see that happening not just locally, but also across the region and around the world. This really means that telco in the past has to go from selling high margin, almost irreplaceable services like voice, SMS, to now almost like selling a commodity, which is data, with increasing competition on the way, or competition are already here. And all these are happening when we are just enjoying the 4G connection. And now there's much talk about development and almost like a race to the 5G era, which is supposed to boost up data speed of more than 20 to 100 times what we're enjoying with 4G connection. And with that era coming, what can the telco really do to compete in this new world? We have seen many of them actually trying to change their business model. Some of them has tried to become like a tech company, and they would start to invest or even start new tech startup. We've seen Singtel now seeing the digital life as one of the key main growth driver for the company. But at the back of my mind, I really think about, yes, they are trying to transition their business, but from a traditional telco, can they truly come out and compete with the software giant of the world? Is it a bit too late for them to come into the game? Or we have seen some other telco moving towards becoming a media powerhouse. We have seen AT&T in the US now buying over Warner Brothers and naming it Warner Media now. And similarly, even though they have now purchased and become one of the largest media company in the world, I wonder, are they too late to the game, and will they really be as successful as, say, a pure media empire like Walt Disney, which we talked about just 2 days ago? Right? I'm not saying that there's totally no future for telco. They will definitely still be relevant, given that they're providing the key commodity for us, for all of us to connect to the internet. And also on the brighter side, they can definitely sort of try to find a deal to work with all these tech giants to start distributing some of the software services from this tech giant to the local market. This is because many of the tech giants are purely operating online, and they don't really have a direct connection with the local market. So maybe working with the telco could maybe help them to even widen out their distribution network for their services. But the truth for telco really is competition are going to increase, and is definitely not going to decrease. And so if you are considering to invest in telco right now, just because you're seeing that the stock price is falling, I really encourage you guys to think again on that and really try to see the entire picture, because in my opinion, telco really is not able to go back to the good old days in the past. So that's basically the summary of our report on the telco industry, and the full report is available for all members within VIA Club. And I understand some of you might be considering to join us as our member, but I just want to let you guys know in the next few days we are now rushing to work out a great package for you guys on VIA Club, and I'm very excited on some of the new initiatives that we are starting, and I really love to share them with you in the next few videos. As you have seen from our past video, that I personally in my portfolio invest globally, and predominantly in, of course, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and also the US. And I get some feedback from some of you that maybe you are only interested in your local market, like say in Singapore or in Malaysia, and you might not see the real need to have a membership like VIA Club, where we look at opportunity globally. However, I do think that the stock market is really one of the most accessible type of asset class around the world. An asset class that can allows me to just invest anywhere around the world with the click of a mouse. And I can invest in Australia, in even South Africa or the US as easily as I can invest in local stocks. And also, all the information are already online, so there's no difference on finding information about global companies or local companies. And if we compare that with buying properties, and it's extremely hard to invest in property outside of our home country. So I think the key advantage of stocks is really the accessibility to the global market. And as stock investor, we should really take full advantage of these great features of stocks. Plus, businesses and economy are now all connected anyway. Even if we invest locally, we have to know what is happening around the world, and especially in now the tension between the US and China with the trade war would actually affect all of us, be it local businesses or global businesses. And in the case of telco, my research on why I feel the future is not that bright for the telco in our region is because this problem has already played out in more developed markets like the Japan or the US. And we are able to see that our telco right now is sort of just heading towards that direction as well. And this is just one example that I want to show you that that's how things is really all connected. And in our next video, we will actually talk about just one more aspect of VIA Club, which is education. And we're going to share with you a video on the 5 steps on what you need to get started to build your $1 million portfolio. Education on stock investing is really a big part of VIA Club, and definitely I want to share with you one example of that in our next few videos coming up in a few days time. If you have any question about the telco industry or about VIA Club, I do love to hear from you. Do comment just down below on the comments tab, and let's have a conversation, and especially either on telco, the stock market, the trade war, or anything that you have in your mind. Let's discuss. Till we see again, invest safely, guys.